If you were to be asked if you were an introvert or extrovert, would you know how to respond? And would your response be accurate? How about an ambivert? Have you ever heard of the term? In today's episode, we will explore these wonderful personality types. Stick around to learn about which you fall into and how it impacts everything you do, from relationships to your career.
Welcome to Tell Me More and Then Some.
I'm Alina.
And I'm Angeline.
Join us as we dive deep into the topics that fuel our conscious evolution and keep us learning as students of life.
We invite you to come along and share the ride. We hope you're empowered to learn and grow into the best and most authentic version of yourself. We're so happy you're here. Let's go.
What is an introvert? Google this and you will find a plethora of answers, all essentially saying that an introvert is a person who prefers alone time and minimal social situations. Introverts like smaller and more intimate social events, since larger ones typically demand more energy given that there is more stimulus. Introverts recharge by spending time alone. They're introspective, reflect before making decisions, listen more, tend to be more social with people they know, and enjoy one-on-one conversations as opposed to group situations. Introverts are often self-aware and considerate because they spend more time alone with their thoughts and practice solitary activities. This was really fun. We Googled extrovert, introvert personality types within, people that most of us would know. And some well-known introverts are Albert Einstein, Rosa Parks, Angelina Jolie, Abraham Lincoln, J.K. Rowling, Gandhi, Michael Jordan, Meryl Streep, Barack Obama, and Lady Gaga. Do any of these surprise you?
I don't think so. Meryl Streep and Lady Gaga and Angelina Jolie, maybe, because they don't mind all the attention when they're
performers.
Yeah. And,
It's funny you say that because I think it was Anne Hathaway. She was in an interview once. I forget who was with her, but she was saying that that's such a misperception that actors and actresses are these like extroverted people who love attention and love being in the limelight.
Yeah.
And it's just not true.
Wow. Yeah. I guess once we learn a little bit more, we can probably figure out what it is about them potentially that makes them introverts. Because it's not just about if you can be on camera or acting. Yeah. That'll be interesting.
Michael Jordan was surprising to me. I don't know why.
Oh.
But then I thought about it some more and I'm like,
He probably had like hours and hours of just practicing by himself. Mm-hmm. Maybe he has a lot of introspection time.
Yeah.
Yeah, who knows? But it's a good list.
Yeah. So, I mean, in addition to these famous people that most of us would know, the founders of some social media platforms that we're aware of, like Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, are also introverts, which I guess makes sense given social media provides introverts an opportunity to socialize with many from behind a computer or phone screen versus physically surrounding themselves with people.
Yeah, that makes sense to me too.
Yeah.
All right. So now that we know a little bit about introverts, what are the characteristics of an extrovert, you ask? An extrovert is a consistently outgoing person who thrives in a social environment. Whether it be at work or with family and friends, extroverts shine in group settings and they feel energized by the company of others. Some traits include being talkative, spontaneous, and recharging through socializing. Extroverts are excellent communicators and they're comfortable in social settings. They tend to be more impulsive, gregarious, expressive, and they speak more often, especially let's say during a meeting. Engaging in social gatherings and being the center of attention brings extroverts joy and validation. So some well-known extroverts are Oprah Winfrey, Muhammad Ali, Steve Jobs, Bill Clinton, Margaret Thatcher, Tupac Shakur, and Kylie Minogue. Did any of those surprise you?
Maybe Oprah. And maybe we should let our listeners also know that there's some inconsistent information on the net. Because I think we had Martin Luther King, like if you Googled Martin Luther King, some sites will say he's an introvert, others will say he's an extrovert.
Yeah.
I don't know how people know this, but we did the best that we could to find several sites that had some consistencies with the personality types for these famous folks. So if we've made any errors, like Oprah, please don't let us know. Don't hate us for this. And we apologize. But I guess it's a little, she seems very introspective and she seems like maybe she'd be more of an introvert, but I don't know. I think she also does very well with people, around people. Like her whole life has been around people, right?
Yeah. You mean Gandhi didn't have access to the Myers-Briggs?
Exactly. Exactly. I'm like Muhammad Ali. Like, did they really know about? I mean, Carl,
yeah, assumptions.
It's been around for a long time, but yeah, like, did they take the Myers-Briggs back then? I mean, anyway,
I don't know, but
which one surprises you, if any?
I don't know why Steve Jobs surprises me. He seemed like a very what's the word I'm looking for? Like like not a solo, someone that would just be really thriving, sitting behind a computer, trying to figure out different ways to like make Apple grow, or thinking through these really innovative ideas. I thought would require somebody to be in solitude, you know? But
especially
again,
when we talk about the founders of all the other social, like not that his was a social media platform, but when we think about people in tech,
that's
right?
That's exactly it. Yes.
Yeah.
But hey, I'll take it. So when we look at differences, essentially introverts and extroverts seek energy in different ways. So introverts require fewer stimuli, reflect in quiet, and prefer one-on-one friendships or social interactions. Extroverts enjoy more stimulation and can boost dopamine by reflecting outwardly when processing feelings, spending time with others, and meeting new people in large groups. This is also a very interesting one because in work meetings, I am somebody that really needs to reflect internally. You know how people say, I have to think out loud, or I'm talking out loud here. That's really difficult for me as an introvert. So I can see how extroverts love to brainstorm with people and talk through ideas and process their feelings, etc. So yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, me too. So in speaking about dopamine and brains, researchers found that the brains of introverts and extroverts are surprisingly different. Extroverts receive more dopamine during high energy, exciting activities than introverts do. And introverts have less blood flow in certain regions of the brain with a lot of dopamine terminals. This is so interesting to me. So essentially that indicates that dopamine plays a big role in whether someone is more extroverted or introverted. And the way that I guess I like to look at this is if you think of the brain and all of the, let's say there's like 20 sites on your brain, an introvert would have more of those dopamine sites throughout those 20 different locations, whereas an extrovert would have fewer, which means that in turn you need more stimuli to get that same amount of dopamine. Does that make sense?
Yes. Okay. So just to dumb it down for myself, introverts tend to have more like natural dopamine centers in their brain, and they don't need as much refueling of that dopamine. But extroverts have fewer little centers and they need to consistently get it through stimulus.
Yes.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So I have more dopamine.
Naturally.
Look at that.
For the most part.
Yeah. We're right. We're obviously generalizing.
Yes. I know. I don't want anybody coming after me and being like,
or hey, I'm depressed.
Yeah.
I don't have the dopamine.
But I love this too. Introverts have a thicker prefrontal cortex. So like our prefrontal cortex is responsible for like higher functioning, our decision-making skills essentially happen in the front of our brain, in the prefrontal cortex. So, since this is an area that's associated with deep thinking and decision-making, they've got more neuronal activity in the brain areas associated with learning and vigilance control, which dictates how alert we are or how alert someone is. So the brains of extroverts also have a larger amygdala than their introverted counterparts. And the amygdala helps us with emotional processing. And researchers believe that this increase in size reduces an extrovert's likelihood of developing conditions like depression or anxiety. And studies have also found that caffeine has positive effects on extroverts' working memory, but not on introverts.
That's devastating.
I know. Do you think our listeners know what we are by now?
I already said it. So.
Yeah. So extroverts are able to perform better than introverts when there are distractions like music, loud noises, and other people. I can certainly understand that. Introverts are typically better fits for leadership positions in industries that rely heavily on collaboration. And this is essentially because they're more receptive to input from other folks on the teams. And when it comes to socializing, researchers found that extroverts display a less genuine form of themselves on social media. But at the same time, introverts who are more of their real selves online may find it easier to open up to people behind a computer screen than peers in a face-to-face interaction. This makes sense to me. I guess I never thought of it this way, but this makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was surprising. It was surprising to me about the extroverts displaying a less genuine form of themselves on social media. I'm still processing this. I know there's data to back this up. It's just interesting because I think in large group situations, yes, an introvert myself would have a hard time being my real self, quote unquote. I feel like I have to perform, and which is what probably drains me a little bit more. So yes, I can see being genuine behind a phone screen or a computer screen being easier for me. But the extrovert comment it's a surprise to me. I don't know. How does it make sense to you?
I was just thinking of like extroverts that I know. I don't know. Maybe it's just in an effort to get interaction out there, regardless of what kind of interaction it is. Not intention. I'm guessing like not intentionally not being genuine, but again, this is just my opinion.
Of course.
Maybe for an extrovert, it's more about connection. Like, I don't know if connection is the right word. It's more about interaction and other people and needing other people to look at their posts and look at their feed and interact with them because they need that, right?
Yes.
Whereas an introvert is going to think long and hard about that connection and the kind of content, and being genuine just seems more of a priority than, let me just get the content out there for that interaction.
That's fair. Wow. You just made me think about a party, right? Extroverts, because they thrive in social situations with a lot of people, no matter what they talk about, right? Whether it's like,
they're just talking.
The weather they're talking. Whereas why it's hard for an introvert is I want to make a connection, right? And when it's loud and there's a lot of music, that's really difficult. it's difficult. And I probably come off sometimes as quiet or shy when that's not the case. I don't want to talk about things that don't matter. Not that the weather doesn't matter, but you know what I mean.
No, it's funny you say that. I just saw something the other day and it really made me laugh. And it was like, what do you call those things? They had them in like the New Yorker, where it's like a comic where two people are talking.
Oh yeah. Like a Dilbert.
Yes, exactly. And it was like an extrovert going up to an introvert and they were like, oh, crappy weather today, huh? And the introvert says, yeah, well, what's so crappy about it? Or something like that, like looking for like a deeper
meaning.
Yes, because the worst thing you can do to an introvert is engage in small talk.
Yes, that's good. That's good.
So the last bit of research, I think this is the last bit of research that we found. This one was so like, okay. So they found that introverted men and women have sex essentially the same amount of time within a month. So on average, 3 times a month. Okay. Introverted men and women. Extroverted men have sex on average 5 to 6 times a month. I think it was like 5.5 times, but that was a little weird. And are you ready for this? Extroverted women almost 8 times a month.
Wow. What do you make of that?
I mean, 8 times doesn't seem like a lot.
No, this is on average,
but
though.
Just especially compared to all the other,
well, right,
like all the other personality types. Wow,
it's almost triple introverted men and women.
Yeah, I'd be curious to learn more about the age groups and the
right.
Were they married? Were they not married? Maybe that's on another episode, but that was just some fun facts that we wanted to share with you guys.
Fun little tidbit. Yeah, and the classification of personality types was placed on a spectrum by the psychologist Carl Jung. While introversion and extroversion are opposites, someone is rarely entirely introverted or extroverted, and there are different levels of extroversion and introversion. So, for example, some people might be low extroverts or low introverts, meaning their preference is mostly aligned with their respective personality types. But still, they might engage in activities from time to time that ascribe to the opposite end of that spectrum. So there's personality tests, like I had mentioned earlier, such as the Myers-Briggs type indicator, which helps people identify their personality type and understand their cognitive functions. The continuum between introversion and extroversion captures one of the most important personality traits. I mean, it's troubling that we're encouraged to categorize ourselves one way or the other because there are critical strengths and weaknesses commonly associated with each type. So really, as much as we can be biased, one type is not better than the other. And Adam Grant from Wharton, he conducted a study that found that 2/3 of people don't strongly identify as introverts or extroverts. And what we call these people is ambivert, who have both introverted and extroverted tendencies. The direction ambiverts lean toward varies greatly depending on the situation. So they're kind of like chameleons, which amphibian and ambivert kind of sounds the same.
Oh, that's funny.
Ambiverts have a distinct advantage over true introverts and extroverts. Because their personality doesn't lean too heavily in either direction, they have a much easier time adjusting their approach to people based on the situation. And then this enables them to connect more easily and more deeply with a wider variety of people. I'm a little jealous of an ambivert.
I'm a little surprised that it's 2/3.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to learn where you fall in the introversion extroversion scale, there are a number of online tests you can take, or perhaps you already have a good idea of where you sit on the spectrum. One assessment that's free that both Angelina and I have taken is called 16 Personalities. And I think it's like 16personalities.com. And it essentially plays off of the Myers-Briggs assessment, because I'm pretty sure you have to pay a pretty penny for the Myers-Briggs one.
You do.
They do it at a lot of organizations, right?
Yes.
Like they'll pay for it. But by increasing your awareness of your type, you can develop certainly a better sense of your own tendencies and play to your own strengths. So if you think that you might be an ambivert, but aren't certain, see how many of the following statements apply to you. And if most of them apply, you're most likely an ambivert. So, first one, I can perform tasks alone or in a group. I don't have much preference either way. The second, social settings don't make me uncomfortable, but I tire of being around people too much. Do we want to answer any of these as we're going along, or should I just keep going?
Let's keep going.
Okay. I know we're going to be here for days.
Yeah.
Number 3, being the center of attention is fun for me, but I don't like it to last. Some people think, this is number 4, some people think I'm quiet while others think I'm highly social. This one definitely resonates with me. Number 5, I don't always need to be moving, but too much downtime leaves me feeling bored. Number 6, I can get lost in my own thoughts just as easily as I can lose myself in a conversation. Number 7, small talk doesn't make me uncomfortable, but it does get boring. Number 8, when it comes to trusting other people, sometimes I'm skeptical and other times I dive right in. 9, if I spend too much time alone, I get bored, yet too much time around other people leaves me feeling drained.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we all fall on a spectrum, right?
Yeah.
And they even have terms like low introvert, high introvert, low extrovert, high extrovert.
Right. Yeah, but I think what you said earlier is important. If you say, if most of the following statements apply to you, then you're most likely an ambivert. Of course, I resonated with a couple of the things you said, but for the most part, a lot of the statements, I was like, nope, not me. Nope, not me. Like, I don't like to be the center of attention ever. And then one of the statements said, it's fun for me. So I do think the amount of statements that apply to you can give you a good indication of where you fall on the spectrum.
Yeah. I feel like I may be, if we were just to look at the spectrum of introverts, I may be somewhere in the middle. I don't know. I may be somewhere in the middle to high. I think what's hard for me is I love the people in my life and I love spending time with them. It's just how much time, and is it one-on-one? Is it in a group setting? Like, I'll still get together with my friends in a group setting, but I so much more like prefer one-on-one time with them. And then I can spend days upon days alone with no human interaction. So whereas I think with you, I won't speak,
go ahead.
but I feel like you would be higher on the introversion spectrum than I am. Not too much higher, but higher.
Yeah. 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 Cause I know you do. We talked about this recently where you had like a group outing and you guys went to like all these bars with like, I think like 9 people in your group. And I asked you, I was like, how do you enjoy that? And I know what you said was you try to find ways to connect with people one-on-one within those group settings, which I can see being nice, but I would not have any interest in going to an outing like that. I know dinners with more than 4 people are kind of a nightmare for me because I don't feel like if you want to include the whole group in a conversation, it can get to a point that I enjoy or I feel connected. I do love spending time alone. I don't like being the center of attention. I do sometimes wonder how much of it is also anxiety driven.
Oh.
I know this is not the topic, but I don't know if introversion is something we're innately born with, introversion or extroversion, or if it's something that's driven by insecurity, anxiety, depression, right? Like sometimes we don't know if we are experiencing depression and just want to be alone. But I guess it is more consistent, right? I've consistently been this person.
I was just going to say, if I were to argue, I would say it's something that is with us throughout our life.
Yeah.
Because even when I think about, my mom tells me stories of when I was like a 3-year-old and we'd have family members who would come over. I would at some point go off into this little nook that I had with my doll or toy, and everybody would be looking for me. And she knew that I was off in that corner because it was just too much for me.
Yeah.
And I think it's such a beautiful thing to be a parent and understand if your child is more of an introvert or an extrovert. I see it with my friends who have children. Like I already know, like, oh, you're going to be an extrovert or you are an extrovert, you know, and oh, you're an introvert. And to have, as a parent, to have you really understand where your child thrives and how your child thrives, and then accommodate them. Because I've certainly been told things by family, you know, even growing up, like, why are you so weird? Why, you know, why is this too much for you? You know, like I've been in social settings with family where like after a few hours, I'm like, this is too much. I have to go. And you know, you're kind of, people make you feel bad because they don't understand. They just don't understand where you're coming from.
Right.
And so I think it's just nice to recognize that and to respect it.
Yeah, I can see the misconceptions too, right? You can come across as standoffish or you're not interested. You know, why are you not engaging with us? And you need to, you know, go to the corner and take some time away. I also feel like introverts, extroverts, we probably talked about this in another episode, are more rewarded in our education system. I think people that are comfortable raising their hand in a classroom of 60 people are going to get more participation points and seem more engaged, when the introvert is processing and needs the time to go step away and then think through what they learned and come up with their perspective, are not as rewarded as the other.
Yeah.
I think there's a flaw. I don't know if there's a universal understanding of what this means and our different types.
Or even in the workplace.
Oh, yeah.
Like I've had leaders say to me, oh, I noticed that so-and-so didn't speak up in that meeting. And I'll say, well, that person is an introvert. So they need some time to process information and they're not going to be as vocal as person X, Y, and Z because they're more extroverted. And they just feel more comfortable talking on the fly and being a bit more, I don't want to say impulsive, but, you know, a little bit more direct and in the moment. Whereas certain introverts on the team need some time for it to process and to think about it and to be more intentional about the feedback or what it is that they want to say.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And I remember you had sent me something that I absolutely loved. Do you want to share it? Do you know what I'm talking about? Where
yes,
it's like, yes, I'm an introvert, but I'm not this, and this. And
yes, speaking of misconceptions, so it was something around like, yes, I'm an introvert. No, I am not shy, stuck up, or antisocial. I'm just listening and observing. I don't like small talk, but I will talk about life for hours. I would rather be home with a close friend or two than among a crowd of acquaintances. And, you know, respect that I am reserved. And if I open myself up to you, know that that means you're special to me. And that connection means something to me. You know, I just feel like it encompasses who I am very well. I'm not just going to give all of me to anybody, right? Like, I know people that get into an Uber and just start talking about their lives and the intimate aspects of it. And I'm not that person. And so I don't know. I really resonated with that post.
Yeah. And even if you do, that just takes a little bit away from your tank, right?
Correct.
So like It's not to say that you're not stuck up, you're not antisocial. But if you had several conversations or interactions with people that day, and then you get into that car with the Uber driver, your tank is on empty.
That's right.
You've got nothing left. So no, you're more likely to not speak
That's a
whole
point.
lot because you're like, I got nothing.
Right.
Whereas if it's maybe in the morning when your tank is full, maybe you are more likely, you know? And so, I mean, as I'm talking about the tank, I like thinking of a visual when I'm speaking about this. So for an introvert, imagine that they start their day with their tank full. And the more people they interact with, the emptier their tank gets. And the more time that they need to spend alone to refill their tank. Are you following?
I am. I love this.
For extroverts, they start their day with their tank empty. And the more people they interact with, the more their tank fills.
I love this.
It's a great way of thinking about it, right?
I have a visual in my head of an extrovert waking up, like scrambling. Who can I talk to? It needs to be filled. Whereas my mornings, like I relish in it because the tank is so full. And then work starts and I start talking to people and then I'm depleted.
It's funny you say that. I think of Pete. So one of my dearest friends, Pete, anybody who knows him loves him.
The best.
He's also like one of my best travel buddies. And so when we're traveling, we wake up in the morning and he's just like itching to like I could just tell. And so we'll go out and I so appreciate him because again, like I'm not the one that's going up to people talking to them. It's always him. And then God, he just can't stop. But I love it. I love that about him because I'm not going to do it. And we always end up like learning interesting things, meeting interesting people. And also like, I understand and appreciate that that's who he is and that's what he needs. And what I love about him is that he'll actually check in with me and say, hey, it's probably been a lot for you today. Like, did you want to go, did you want to take a walk? Did you want to go to that museum on your own? Did you want to go to the coffee? Like he'll let me, he understands me. And so if I say, hey, I'm going to go do this for a couple hours, he completely understands.
Not offended.
Yep. It's only love. It's just, we understand the other.
What a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
In friendships, especially, is like, it's understanding each other, right? And not judging what one another needs. I think that's a real beautiful, and that's a great travel buddy for sure.
And I feel like we need extroverted friends because again, I've seen these like funny things online about like an introvert has like something about like we only have friends that are extroverted because they're the ones that like approached us.
One of my best friends, the only reason I'm friends with her, she sat next to me in class and started talking to me. Right.
Because they're going to come up to you and be like, hey,
Yeah.
Most of my friends are extroverts. I can say that.
Yeah.
I would say at least 70, maybe 80% I have a lot of extroverted friends.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I wonder if I think you have mentioned that sometimes it is a struggle when they want to consistently be out and about and see you, which is, again, a beautiful thing. But your needs are very different. And it seems like most of them understand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Go ahead.
Sorry. Are most of your friends?
I was just thinking about that. I think I have a good balance.
Yeah.
And again, I don't have many friends, which I think also indicates my introversion, maybe more so than Alina's. But actually, it's funny. One of my best friends is an extrovert. We were just having a conversation about this yesterday. And sometimes it is a struggle to say, I don't want to be out and about all day. And she definitely tries to understand as much as possible, but we're just different. My sister and I are both introverts, but I think I can spend all day with my sister, which is interesting. I don't have to necessarily be alone, but because she and I are very similar types, I can be around her, have great conversation, be quiet next to her, and I don't get tired. Same thing with you.
I think that's fair to say. Like if it's just one person,
Yeah.
it's not as draining.
No.
Like I could spend days on end with the same person. I mean, gosh, you're married. So for you,
Oh,
you
yeah.
are spending
That's
time
true.
with the same person.
He's also an introvert, and we spend a lot of time apart to the point where, some people might think it's strange or it could be unhealthy. And I think it's the best thing for our relationship. So
I think it's whatever works for you. And
Agreed.
again, like understanding what works best for the people that you're closest with.
yes,
And even the people that you work with. I mean, all around.
absolutely. I agree. I think
Yeah.
discovering one's personality type involves a lot of self-reflection and observation of behavioral patterns. And in some cases, these personality tests will really help us. And examining preferences in social interactions, energy levels, cognitive processing, we can gain insight into whether we lean towards this extroversion, introversion, or fall somewhere in between. Understanding our own traits not only enhances self-awareness, it also fosters empathy, like we were talking about, an appreciation for the diversity of others' experiences. Like we said, it's important for you to know where your friends fall on that spectrum, because rather than getting frustrated that someone wants to hang out every week, you can pause and say, well, how did they fill their tank? That is how. It's not something to fault them for, but pausing to understand the why behind it really helps. And when we acknowledge the multifaceted nature of personality, we can absolutely cultivate more meaningful connections, both with ourselves and with others, ultimately enriching our personal growth and career development.
Thanks, Ange.
I love it. You're welcome.
This is such a fun topic for me.
I could talk about it all day.
All day.
But we won't do that to you.
I was talking to a colleague a few weeks ago, and we were talking about this topic. And then like a week later, he was like, I was really thinking about what you said. And because I don't really know if I'm an introvert or an extrovert. And he started, telling me about, and I know him, I've known him, for like a decade. And I said, you're an ambivert. If I were to guess, I would say that you're an ambivert. Because he was like, I can spend time alone. I don't mind spending time alone. I enjoy my time alone, but I really like being around people. And like all those questions that we had around ambivert, I was like, I think you're an ambivert. But anyway, it's fun. So we like to end our episodes with something that's bringing us joy lately. Lady, would you like to go first?
Sure. So what's bringing me joy lately? I'm actually going to Italy in a week, and I've been there before, and I'm so excited about mostly the food. So I'm gluten intolerant here in the States, and when I go over to Europe, I'm able to eat all the bread, pasta, everything. And so, going with my husband, sister, and her husband, and it'll be really fun. I'm really excited to go to the wineries and eat good food and just be around beautiful, lovely Italian people for 2 weeks.
And all that food, and you come back and you've lost weight.
Literally, because you also walk like
So
30,000 steps a day. Yeah. I'm so excited.
I'm really excited for you.
Thank you. How about you, lady?
These art pieces that you see here are going to go up on the wall in the next couple of days. I got some new art pieces framed, and I'm super excited about them. They're so beautiful.
They are beautiful pieces. They're very unique.
Thank you.
And your taste is very unique. And I feel like you are a great curator. Her house is just filled with beautiful, beautiful art.
Makes me happy just to look around and see beautiful pieces by creative talent. So good stuff.
Good stuff.
So are you an introvert, extrovert, or ambivert? Let us know on our Instagram page. So this wraps up season 1 of Tell Me More and Then Some. Thank you for being here with us and for all your continued support. This has certainly been an exciting journey for both of us. We hope you've taken something away from our episodes that have piqued your interest and inspired you to share with others. We will connect again in season 2, where we will be bringing on special guests to discuss more thought-provoking conversations. And before we sign off, I think we want to just say a special thank you to Andrew for all of his hard work and doing all of the editing. He has spent quite a bit of time editing our episodes and just kind of consulting with us and giving us guidance on what to do, what not to do. So Andrew, thank you.
That's great. And if you guys don't know, Andrew is my husband. He's incredible and so knowledgeable and has taken a lot of time to help us edit and produce aspects of our podcast. And it could not have been done without him. So thank you, Andrew. We love you.
We do love you. And another person we'd like to thank is our friend Kinda Arzan, who is an incredible photographer. If you don't know who she is, look her up. It's Kinda, Kinda, Arzan, Arzon photography. She is a magician, and she does a lot of different kinds of photography, but like maternity photography, family photography. She does great headshots, and she took all of our photos for us for the podcast, and they're beautiful. So thank you, Kinda.
Yes.
We love you.
And she's kind and great at her job. So that's such a wonderful combination.
Powerful.
Thank you. Thank you, Kinda.
Thank you, everyone.
Yes. Thank you to you too. We'll talk soon. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please rate and review to help us reach more listeners.
To learn more, make sure to follow us on all the socials at moreandthensomepod.
Join us for new episodes every Wednesday on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Until next time, stay curious, learn more, and talk about it.